going on, guys? So today we're back with another Pokemon Masters video, and today we're actually going to be going over the basic Pokemon or just sync pairs in general that I personally feel like if you have racked up enough of those 5-star promotions from events and from scouting, basically the ones from the events are supposed to expire here really soon. I'm not exactly sure what day they expire, but very, very soon. And if you kind of were in a spot where I was a couple of weeks ago, and you, well, it's not even been that long, holy cow. If you basically are stuck in a spot where you kind of don't know where to spend them, this is going to kind of give my thought process on why I chose who I chose and other candidates who definitely deserve the 5-star power-ups, in case you don't have certain sync pairs or just personally favor others over the ones that I chose. Basically, we're going to break this down into 3 distinct sections. We're going to go with physical strikers, special strikers, and then bulk. So all 3 of these categories are highly based on stats, and then the kit that comes along with the Pokemon is taken into high consideration, but they're also kind of all conglomerated. They're all kind of mixed in together, and it just kind of, they're not in any distinct order. I won't say that like I highly choose this one. They're more in order of what their stats were based on what category they're in. So for example, let's start with physical strikers. The first Pokemon that I have down in this category is actually not a Pokemon. I wrote down Steven. Steven and Metagross are a very, very good candidate for some 5-star power-ups, because the increase that you're gonna get from the power-up promotion ticket thingies is gonna give you a lot more attack, and you already have a huge attack after you get to Mega Metagross. The problem is that you do have to get to Mega Metagross before you can get some of these crazy high numbers. So you do have a massive amount of attack, which is definitely a pro, and you do have some quick moves, which is definitely a pro, but the mega connotation and kind of drawback to that is kind of your big weakness, in my opinion. Next, we do have Cynthia, which kind of is in a very similar spot here. She does have really high attack with Garchomp. She does do some great AoE damage, which is amazing, but we also do kind of get held back by the Mega as well there to kind of get our full, you know, potential out of that. So just kind of depends on which way you want to go. If you don't mind, you know, getting up to the Mega and then mowing down opponents with AoE damage, I think Cynthia is a great one to show for. Next, I do have Olivia, which, I mean, come on. I mean, what else can you really say about Olivia? She has insane attack. She has an insane base power move. She has an insane kit that allows her, every time she gets a crit, she gets speed. Plus, she has a trainer move that's going to increase her crit rate. Plus, she has an accuracy increase on the said move, which has high base power, which in turn is going to give you crits. Holy cow! Like, it's just so perfect and awesome. That's the one that I went with. I mean, I use Olivia a ton, and it just seemed like that was my best option. Now, next we do have Brendan, which has a really high attack, but he does have some RNG elements in there, and that's kind of his big drawback, because if you're using him as a physical striker, and remember, his sync move is also considered physical, but he is going to basically have Bullet Seed, which is going to be a great physical damaging move, but you have to rely on being able to hit 5 in a row to really get there, and it's really, really hard to put a lot of credence in the RNG elements to that, but it's definitely worth it, and Brandon is not going anywhere because we're going to talk about him here again in a second. Last but not least, in the physical strikers, we do have Embor. So the reason that Embor is actually in this list, because it does have an insanely high attack, plus it has quite a bit of bulk on it as well, but it actually does have a recoil mechanic. So it does have a lot of attack and a lot of bulk, which helps it actually output lots of damage over time, but it does have the recoil, which ends up being a little bit of a drawback. So just kind of depends on how much you dislike that drawback and whether you could feel comfortable going with Embor. Now, out of all those 5, like I said, I chose Olivia. It was just my preferred one. I think a lot of people are definitely going to go with that, but if you don't have Olivia, it's kind of hard to, you know, pass up all these promotional tickets if they're going to expire. You want to put them somewhere, hopefully out of those physical attackers. That gives you an idea. If you're not into physical attackers, if you want to do something in the special attacker realm, we do have a few of these as well. Blue shows up first, so massive special attack, but he does have AoE damage as well, which is good. But his big drawback, of course, is yet again going to be the Mega Evolution that Pidgeot needs to really get to that full potential. Lance is kind of the opposite and really, really close in terms of stat-wise for the special attack. Lance with Dragonite is going to have massive special attack, and it's going to be hyper focused on like one single target. So Hyper Beam is going to be able to do a ton of damage, and it's just going to be able to lay down massive amounts of damage, but on a really narrow target. Like, you're just going to be able to hit one target at a time. It does have some accuracy issues, so kind of depending on like how you feel about it, Lance is definitely up there, but it does have a small drawback with the accuracy. Next, we are going to talk about Brendan again, which Brendan, of course, has a really high special attack, but it does have the debuff element to it, so to get really going with Brendan, you do have to use his trainer move to boost up your special attack all the way to 6, and then you are going to be able to use Leaf Storm, which is going to do massive amounts of damage, but it is going to slowly whittle away at your special attack, so it is going to kind of make it interesting. If his sync grid ends up getting something that just makes it to where special attack can't be decreased for any reason, oh my god, is he going to be so good. Next, we do have Karen. Karen, fun fact, was actually my very first 5-star pull. And Karen is very, very interesting. She does have some high special attack, not nearly as high as Blue or Lance or even Brendan, but she does have some AoE damage in there as well. Her big deal is that she is going to have a Mega. Once she gets into her Mega Evolution, though, she does have a pretty decent kit as far as outputting single target damage. Plus, she still retains Snarl, so it kind of like helps if you want to do massive damage on one single target, or if you still need to like spread, you know, AoE damage across the field, you can kind of do either or. Last but not least in the special strikers is Reuniclus. So Reuniclus actually rivals Mewtwo in a couple of different ways. If you didn't actually participate in the Mewtwo event, I highly encourage you to possibly dump some tickets into Reuniclus. It's kind of not a safe bet because we also could be getting the Mewtwo event in the near future, but if you don't have any of the other 4 Pokemon that we've already talked about or sync pairs that we've already talked about, Reuniclus is definitely a decent option here. So it does have high special attack, plus it actually does have some bar regen, which is actually really good. The only problem with it is it's just kind of not like the best, and it's really, really overshadowed with Mewtwo at the moment. Our last category is going to be in the bulk sector. So literally sorting my spreadsheet, which is in the description if you guys are ever interested, sorting the spreadsheet by bulk and just kind of like looking at each and individual Pokemon here. We do have quite a interesting little kit. So Leaf comes up first. It does have massive bulk, and it's going to have basically buffs for everyone, which is really, really cool. The big problem with Leaf for me, though, is that it just doesn't have a whole lot of like damage output. It does have Iron Tail, yes, I know, but its Iron Tail is kind of spotty because of the accuracy, and it just kind of doesn't like, I mean, Sync Move is fine if that's what you need on your team, but if you end up dying out and only have Leaf remaining for whatever reason, it just kind of sets you really, really behind, which isn't always great. Next, we do have Rosa, which is going to be with Superior. We are going to have massive bulk, and we do actually have more of a special attack team focus here. So if you typically use, like, if your best striker is actually a special striker, then maybe Rosa would actually be a good candidate for you if you don't want to spend them on a 5-star special striker like we've already talked about. But basically, Rosa is going to be great. The only downside to her, I guess, is that it's kind of narrow, that she doesn't have a whole lot outside of like special attack increase. Her damage is kind of meh, but I mean, she's a support, so it's kind of be expected. Next, we do have Rosa, which is the Delibird version, just so you know. It is actually going to have pretty high bulk with bar acceleration, which is actually really cool. Plus, it does have more of a physical attack focus, which is actually interesting because it's almost like a counterpart to the Superior and regular Rosa variant. The big downside here is there are a little bit of RNG factors with all the presents, but that's kind of mitigated. It's not like, I personally consider it just an extra bit of flavor on top of what we've already got. It's not like it's like gonna hurt me because I randomly get some special defense somewhere. Like I'm perfectly fine with that. Next we actually have Phoebe, which actually has some really high bulk, and she actually has some decent damage output as well with double edge. The big problem that I have with Phoebe is that she does have some recoil issues, which can actually become quite devastating, especially on auto. Phoebe does not manage health very well. They will just they'll just totally faint themselves out in the wrong situations. But either way, Phoebe is a great candidate here because it is going to give you even more bulk. It is going to give you a little bit more damage, but you do have to kind of worry about the recoil aspect of that, which kind of can be bad. Last but not least, the last Pokemon in this list is actually going to be Cybold with Octillery. So Cybold and Octillery actually do have a pretty high bulk, and one of the things that's interesting about their kit is Piercing Gaze. I talked about this in the Limelight video I did on them, and very interesting to have Piercing Gaze because it basically means that you never miss a move, and I mean, you just have this large amount of bulk, plus you have like the ability to never miss. It just kind of works out really cool. The downside is that he's not available right now. I still don't have him. I don't have the sweater vest, and I feel like I'll never get it. But either way, so those are 15 different ideas that you can kind of run with. I guess Sceptile was in there twice, so I guess that's 14 ideas. Whichever way you want to look at it, I guess. But 15 reasons for each of these listed sync pairs to possibly upgrade them, and some kind of options in case you don't have some that I have mentioned but you do have others. There's kind of some reasons to go for everyone. So that is actually going to be it. We are actually going to switch over and go into a sync pair scout here. So we are just going to jump into the shop. I'm going to go do sync pair scout here. We still are on the hunt for my boy Steven and Metagross. If I could get him, it'd be amazing. But let's just take a shot. If you want to follow along, on the count of 3, we're going to go in 1, 2, 3. I just faked you all out. I am so sorry. On the count of 3, here again. 1, 2, 3. Now I'll never know if the fake out was actually a good sync pair. I'll never know. This is just a 3-star antenna. Do we get decent doors? Nope. Alright, so we got a Bryson, but that is actually going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you so much for watching. As always, remember that if you want to join the Discord, it's actually linked down in the description below. Also down there are links to YouTube memberships and Patreon, if that's your thing. But otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and head out, but I will catch you in the next video.